Hello and welcome. My name is Larry O'Brien. I'm with Blue Point Leadership Development. I'm here with my client and also my partner, Liz Volk from Longo's. And thank you for joining us today, Liz.
Thank you, Larry.
And our topic today is creating a coaching culture. And when I think of culture, I think of this quote by Peter Drucker. And he said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." Some people say culture eats strategy for lunch. Some people say he didn't say that at all. That doesn't really matter. But the point is that culture is so important. You can have the best tools, best strategy, you could have the best products, you could have all the funding in the world, but if you don't have the right culture, then it's not going to work. So thank you for coming today, and I want to introduce, if you could, Liz, share us a little bit about yourself and Longo's.
Sure. So as Larry mentioned, my name is Liz Volk. I head up the HR function at Longo's. Longo's is a Canadian-run family business. We've been in business for 63 years in the Toronto market primarily, and we have about 33 locations, 6,000 team members and growing. And we also have an e-commerce business where we deliver groceries right to your door. So it's a really exciting time to be in the industry. And for us, this topic on coaching has just been so critical. It ties in with our strategy.
Thank you. So let's look at how we define culture. And I love this quote by Jason Barger, and he says, "Culture is the way we think, we act, and we interact." So let's break that down a little bit. The way we think. We need to think like coaches. And when we think like coaches, it's all about the other person. It's not your agenda anymore. It's the person who you're coaching. And we like to call that person the talent. The way we act as coaches, we have a saying at Blue Point, which is you have to earn the right to coach. And how do you do that? It's through your character. And then how do we interact as coaches? You know, there are hundreds of opportunities in a day where you can act like a coach. What do? Sometimes we say, you know what, now's not the right time. I'll give them that feedback later. But whatever we do, there are hundreds of opportunities to interact as coaches. So we're going to talk about that definition today and break that down and look at our experience at Longo's. So how we think, we serve others best by being catalysts for their high performance and learning and acceleration. So Liz, one question that's been bothering me is, so why coaching? Why did you put such a focus on coaching in your culture?
You know, truthfully, with the growth in the organization, we doubled the size of the business all the way around in the last 5 years. And having conversations with the family, as well as with the senior leadership team, we really felt that there was some cracks forming in our culture. And when we stepped back to take a look at that, we said, you know, what can be done? And certainly because we're a company that believes in developing folks from within, coaching came top of mind. Being able to, as leaders, coach individuals and grow their skill sets really is an integral part of our culture. We talk about treating you like family. That's kind of how we define ourselves. And inside of that, we talk about people being the best they can be. And in order to be your best, I think coaching just plays such a critical role. So that's why we decided to go on the journey.
Outstanding. So as we break down culture, as I mentioned earlier, it's how we think. We serve others best by being catalysts for their high performance and learning acceleration. And we also think that the person being coached is the expert, and the expert on becoming the very best version of themselves. And I find this is sometimes difficult for people, where you've been promoted throughout the organization. And why? Because you're able to solve problems. But people are not problems to solve. Could you tell us a little bit about how have you approached it? What have you seen specifically around this kind of mental shift around that it's about the other person, the talent you're coaching?
Yeah, it is. It's a real challenge because we are promoted based on our problem-solving skills, and that's where, you know, providing advice is what we love to do. What we've seen in our organization is introducing some of the tools. Blue Point's given us some fantastic tools. There's one that leaders use regularly called the 60 Big Questions. So our leaders learning to recognize that sometimes by asking the talent a key question can unlock their own thinking. So I think it's a journey, first of all. So, you know, having that confidence to be able to ask the right questions and then start and see that, that the individual you're coaching is coming up with their own solutions, our leaders are actually recognizing that this is just getting them so much further. And people are being set up more for success. So I would say, you know, it's not without mistakes being made. There are things that happen along the way, but you know, this whole idea of people have the answers from within, our leaders are starting to discover that, and it's really rewarding. I think that's, you know, that's the bottom line. People feel good when they see others developing.
Outstanding. So another aspect of a coaching culture, it's about how we act. We need to earn the right to coach through the strength of our character. It's who you are. You can't just go up to someone and just start coaching them, right? I'm going to hit you with some coaching. I've seen that time and time again. But it starts with you and who you are as a leader. And it is only a coaching session with the talent if you have a willing participant. So Liz, my question to you is, why do you think this concept of earning the right to coach is so important?
Coaching is, you have to have a trusting relationship, and oftentimes being a coach means being courageous, because you're going to step into some waters with people and call out some things that they might not want to hear. It could even be that you're debriefing 360 feedback. So, you know, I think earning the right to coach means that you go into it with this notion of you really do care about the other individual, and you're willing to take some risks, and you're willing to take the time to build a trusting relationship. If you go out and, as you say, try to zap people with coaching, it's not going to work. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that.
I really like keying in on that, caring about that person so that they can become who they're meant to be.
Yeah, they need to trust you.
Yeah, it's critical. It's also about how we act and how we interact. Most conversations have the potential of becoming a coaching conversation. There are hundreds of opportunities, again, in the day where you have the opportunity to coach someone. And it's about slowing down and taking advantage of those opportunities. And one of these core tenets around coaching is that anyone can coach anyone. You know, we like to use the term of a peer-to-peer. It's about having a peer-to-peer conversation. So I'm no longer your manager, or I'm no longer your reporting to you. And I like this visual of the walkway. It's about thinking about if you're walking with someone and just shedding all that corporate pressure that you have, and being with that person and coaching that person as a peer. It also takes having senior leaders who are champions of a coaching culture and not just advocates of the coaching culture. They need to dive in fully. It's not that they're going to just give you the budget line to pay for this stuff, although that's important and that's good. But the point is they need to be actively involved. So tell us a little bit about at Longo's. What have you done? What have you seen to get your senior leaders involved in coaching?
We've been super fortunate. First and foremost, our president and our CEO puts himself right at the center of it all. So he's participated in all of our programs, and he's actively coached individuals in the organization. And in fact, one of the things we did following a conference where we laid out the groundwork for coaching and got people comfortable with the language and the process, we called them learning trios. And we set up these trios across the organization, and I'll never forget that Anthony was put in with one of our store managers and one of our marketing managers. So you can imagine in that particular case how those folks felt, sitting down and talking about issues that they had and walking through, you know, how they can come up with their own solutions and working with Anthony on that. And it worked out so well because he also had to bring forward some issues he's working on as a leader and get their advice. And I think the biggest thing that the store manager learned and the marketing manager learned was, wow, even the president and CEO of your organization struggles with these things from time to time and how to coach. And he's human, and we're human too. And so it really, you know, I think it worked out really well.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about how would I react in that situation. but the point of him being human, that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
So we have 7 characteristics of the organizations with a coaching culture. And we just want to share one with you today, and it's a very important one. And that is that difficult conversations are routine. Difficult conversations are routine, and we try to avoid emotional conversations. But in a coaching conversation, I know I do, when I'm at my worst, when I'm at my best, and then I need to be willing to kind of step into that danger, step into that vulnerability, and say, it's okay if I don't have all the answers. But I find that, like myself, being human, people struggle with this.
Yes.
What's been your experience at Longos?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the putting coaching in has helped us with it, but it is very much a journey. Thinking about the fact that being a family-run business, loyalty runs deep, and there's been much research done about family-run organizations, and that is usually a core tenet. But I think about the fact that we actually have about 18 family members that work in the business at all levels. Sometimes families do tend to sweep things under the carpet, so that has been a little bit of our culture, just because people have worked together for such a long period of time. But since we've put in working on coaching and making it okay to have those conversations and to admit that you might be struggling with them, I'm seeing that more people are having the conversations. So I would say that's the first piece. The other part of it that we've had a recognition of is we've had to actually acknowledge that we have to take some of these tools and embed it along the way. So as an example, our first line leadership course, we've embedded these tools in there on how to have these difficult conversations and given people kind of, the setup of it. So as we've done those kinds of things, I think we're seeing better success, but it's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about how can you create this coaching culture. And we say that, how can I drive the coaching culture? Well, we believe that you can't drive a coaching culture. It's something that needs to be nurtured. If the coaching culture isn't taking place, isn't settling in, chances are they're focused on something else.
Right.
It's just that simple. Something else in the culture is more important, whether it's driving sales or driving down margins or whatever it is. So you need to take a hard look at your own cultures and what might be more important than creating the coaching culture. And I love this graphic, Liz, which is what are ways to grow and nurture a coaching culture. And I like the analogy of a plant. I have a family member who all of a sudden at 82 years old decided, I'm going to grow cucumbers. I'm going to be a gardener. So what does he do? I told you this story. He rakes up the rocks from his driveway, lays down some dirt, and plants some cucumber seeds. Then he waters them. He walks around every day looking at the cucumber seeds and expects them to grow. Right. And when they don't grow, he blames the cucumbers. He doesn't blame the shade. He doesn't blame the weather. And what did he do to nurture it? Right. So it's been about 2.5 years since you've had this journey. Can you tell us a little bit about, in your efforts, what incremental changes have you seen around this coaching culture?
I would say first and foremost, we're seeing the language being consistent. It's nice. We've got people using consistent tools, and the language is a big part of that. I would say the other thing that we're seeing in the organization is people are seeking feedback more, which is really nice, because they're feeling more comfortable with the people that are coaching them. They're feeling more comfortable in daily interactions, receiving coaching and acting on it, and it's being reinforced. The other part that's been nice to see is that we're celebrating more of that, and the fact that we ventured into what we called a Master Coach program, which was a 7-month program with executives that committed to this process. That people are saying, wow, this organization means business when it comes to coaching. So I would say, all in all, we're seeing that we're going in the right direction. We're definitely less directive behavior and more coaching.
Yeah. So I imagine a lot of people are now thinking, okay, so how do I do it? What advice would you give for people who are on this journey?
Well, I guess first and foremost, you have to step back and say, what's your strategy? What's the business strategy? What's the business case? And why do you want to do this? So for us, the strategy is really about offering a wonderful team member experience, guest experience, and delivering for our communities. And really a strong belief that in order to do that, we have to have people that are thinkers, that are doers, and in order for them to be able to do that, they need to grow along the way. So first of all, I would say connect it to your strategy. Secondly, I would say you want to have a partner in this along the way, and we've had some great partnerships, both, well, I've talked about our president and CEO has been just a fantastic role model in this process, but some of the other folks on our team, I think of our VP of Marketing, has been a fantastic partner in understanding how important this is. So I would reach out and say, you know, who are the stakeholders that will go on the journey with you, and think of it as a journey, because there's going to be adjustments. We've made lots of adjustments along the way, and we continue to do so. And celebrate those wins. Celebrate the folks that really are getting on board with coaching. Celebrate folks that have kind of reinvented themselves, and we've seen that. Because I talked about having such great tenure in the organization, we're seeing people trying on a little bit of a new leadership style.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's awkward, but I think celebrating that has been some, you know, some good wins for us. So I would say that would be some advice I would have for folks.
And I talked to some of the people from Longo's, and I saw some of the pictures from your celebrations, and I could tell you their smiles were huge. So it's because it's work. It's
Yes.
hard work. So that's wonderful that you take time to celebrate. So I have a couple other things that I want to share with you around creating a coaching culture. And one of the things that we recommend at Blue Point is equip leaders at all levels to master the art of coaching, not just as a way of doing, but as a way of being. And this is a critical point. Again, starting with earning the right to coach and being more coach-like. We need to engage the mind, and we need to engage the heart, as this is the change, and we need to make it personal as well. So don't just start throwing out coaching tools to people. Make sure that they have the right mindset.
Absolutely.
Secondly, it's develop coaching skills from individual contributors to the CEOs. Coaching is everyone's business. We know people have been successful, your leaders have been successful moving up the ranks, but now, and you had a coaching culture for a while, but now in some organizations we're asking them to do something different. It's a challenge, it doesn't feel right. So it's critical for them to make that journey or take that step and be okay with making mistakes. That's to give them some of these tools.
For sure.
Finally, great coaching, it's a career-long journey. I think we've said that word several times, right? So it is a journey. It's important to realize that and not try to, like the cucumbers, not try to push them so fast, but definitely setting the environment. I want to mention that please follow us on Blue Point Leadership Development. We have a lot of tools. We have a lot of videos on YouTube, and I encourage you to follow us and get the latest and greatest that we're up to when it comes to the coaching. And Liz, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for your time today, and I appreciate you sharing the experiences.
Great. Thanks so much, Larry. It's been great.